What's up, guys? Tambo here with your weekly core report. It's a big week for Run Pure members across both NBA and NFL. Let's get into the winners. In the NBA streets, Bowl 800 turned $12 into 4K. C. Corms turned $76 into 4K as well. Leroy hit for $4,600, while Y Guy 223 shipped for $12,000. Our guy AP joined in the fun, hitting for $8,000. Turning to NFL, it was another great week for us, especially when it came to Showdown. I parlayed my appearance on our premium Thursday night Print Factory show into 61K, featuring a lineup with Dallas Goedert in the captain spot. RPS coordinators were all over the Goedert captain play, appearing not only in my premium attack plan, but Mangone pushed it as well, helping Nadesify ship for over 67K, while Pete Vegas hit for $7,200 over on FanDuel. But the biggest hit came on Monday Night Showdown, where RPS content was all over Kenyon Drake in the captain spot. Captain Drake was pushed on our free Showdown show by special guest Chris Randone, in addition to our Talking Touchdown show with Spread, Tyler, and Title, where Tyler called his shot, nailing the Drake call ahead of shipping $29,000 for himself.
75% of carries, like he's going to be unowned, like low owned because of his price. He's got to be even more low owned as a captain because his price jumps even more. If he scores 2 touchdowns in this one, you could be golden.
Guys, if you have not subscribed to our free YouTube channel, take a second right now and get it done. Racer1A joined in with a 10K hit from Showdown. Kanoski69 hit for 22K as well. Locks rode Drake Captain to a 30K score to continue his heater, while I shipped 2 more King of the Beach seats. But the biggest win was by Run Pure member Homebrew, who hit the perfect unique lineup, solo shipping for a monster $500,000. He joined our NFL First Look show to talk about his big night.
Randone just mentioned at the end of the show, the very end, it was the last lineup I made. It was the end of the show, and he said, Kenyon Drake, captain. And I was like, well, I don't have one of those. Let me make one of those.
Congrats again to all our members. If you want to be featured in the core report, drop your winning lineup in the Members Never Win channel in our premium Discord. If you're not a member, join now. You won't find a better value with all sports included for one low price. And while you're watching, hit that like button right now. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Until next time, let's keep running pure.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Join Mangone, who talking some basketball, not baseball, talking some basketball. Running a little late. The Showdown show was going on. C-Dome, Big T, Tambo, JSU was breaking that down on the premium side. Great show. If you did not check it out, you can go to the Run Pure Sports website. You do have to be a member. You can watch back that show. They had a lot of good takes. I tuned in at the end. And I think it's going to be a great game. It's Atlanta, Carolina. It's not the most exciting game. If you don't have any money on it, I probably wouldn't be watching it. But we always have money on it, so it's always entertaining. Big prize pools as always. So make sure you go check that out. Let me say hi to a couple people in chat before we throw it over to Hoop and Mangone. Winkin' Weed said it's his first time in here. Love having you, Winkin' Weed. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We got Robert, Keith, Joshua Hart, Cesar Martinez, Isaiah, Humble Brags, Apone, Richie Smalls, Junior, SC, Drew Carpenter, Sleepy Joe, Gator Nation. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us as always. Do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that big red subscribe button. Throw it over to you first, Toop. We got a 4-game NBA slate. Not too many games, but it's better than what we've had recently. I know before the show, I was like, is this our first or second Thursday show? Because usually it's been like 2 games, 3 games, something like that. 4 games, that's fine. It's right in the wheelhouse for Big T, for Tambo. NFL tonight. What are your thoughts on this beautiful Thursday afternoon?
Yeah, the NFL, it's another one of those Thursday games. Like you said, if you don't have money on it, you're probably not tuning in. But luckily for us, we'll all have money on it. So we will be tuning in. And it's not as bad as some of these other games. Like, it's not great, but there's pieces. And, the guys did a great job before us, breaking it all down. Got about 40 minutes. If you want to watch the show and you want just NFL talk, you need to fast forward about 40 minutes. So I will say that because I was watching from the beginning. Got about 40 minutes before they get into the slate. So it was a good breakdown though. C-Dome on there as well, hopped in. He's been nailing these random calls. So definitely want to tune into that part of the premium product at Run Pure. NBA slate. A lot of my not so favorite teams playing tonight, and a lot of teams that are kind of uncomfortable for DFS purposes. But again, there's money to be made. There's slates out there, so we're gonna go through and pick the winners the best that we can tonight.
You got your boy Kyle Lowry on the slate. Mangone's got his boy Porzingis on the slate, so I'm excited to go game by game and talk about it. Mangone, I mean, Hoops boy is Lowry. Mangone's boy definitely is not Porzingis. We have a tall task today though. Yesterday, tons of members won, tons of screenshots. We got to keep that up and do the same thing. Repeat that from yesterday. Mangone, how's everything been going? I saw you have your 3-max stuff up right now. You got NFL tonight. I don't know if you're in the NHL streets. It's a busy night for us. What's going on?
Yeah, no NHL. I said my goodbye in the chat. I said I'll see you. I don't know. I posted some DJ Khaled gif which said I'll see you.
You'll see him at NBA All-Star break.
Yeah, maybe before that. You never know. We'll see if I get a chance to dive in before. But no, NBA. Actually, it's so funny you brought the Porzingis thing title because I got the Sunday contests are terrible, but I got second in the $100 right single entry. And guess who the big fade was? It was 66% owned Kristaps Porzingis. So I didn't even realize that that's what I had did there to make it get the job done. So that was pretty funny realizing that now 4 days later. But I like this NBA slate a little bit. It's one of those old slates where it's you can kind of create your own value. And I kind of like when I'm able to create my own value and kind of mess around with it. I think I have a good strategy, a decent handle on how it's going to shake out. Obviously, injury news could hit and mess it up. Also, I know Hoop said that no one's watching this football game tonight. Hoop, just walk into a Buffalo Wild Wings. I bet you most of the people there are somehow watching and care with no money on the line, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, they're there to eat the food though.
Yeah, they're in for the wings and the beers, all right. And it's just they're there for
that, but they're still watching a football game. Is the craziest. Like for instance, there is some guy out there that's watching the Detroit Pistons 82 games a year, on his couch.
I used to be that guy. I was once that guy.
Those guys exist. It's crazy.
I know.
Back when they were actually decent, Richard Hamilton, Ben Wallace, those days.
Dude, that was my time to shine because I was 18, 19 years old at that time. And man, we went to every, it was you in Deer District almost, you're in Deer District. Yeah. Your antlers on. We had their motto was going to work. So we had the construction vests on, we were going to every game ready to roll. It was a lot of fun. I mean, that was a lot of fun. That team, they beat the Lakers at the end. So I was I was title back then with my Pistons.
Yeah, they were good for sure. Not as much anymore. If you played Cade Cunningham yesterday, you definitely did not have a fun night.
Yeah, they're at least. I mean, so here in Detroit, we can't be very picky with the teams, and out of all the main teams, they probably have the most upside. And these NFL people, they got to stop. When are they going to learn? They keep, this is the year the Lions are going to be decent. It was everyone's sexy pick going into the season, the Lions this year, because Dan Campbell was going to get it figured out. No, the Lions forever suck. So just stop picking the Lions as the surprise team each year.
Well, they just freaking beat our Packers, man, going in our Packers. So
that's a whole nother story. Yeah, the Packers crew. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I've been blessed my whole life, man. You've been blessed most of your life, and I think it's going to be a little tough run for us in these coming years. But hey, as I always say, I cheer for my money. I cheer for DFS over the Packers, so that's all right. And man, going to your point of they're still watching the football game. People love cheering on their season-long fantasy football teams out there. They got a Kyle Pitts or Drake London. They'll just cheer on that one guy. So yeah, it's an interesting, I could never do it. But hey, that's what people do. Carolina, Atlanta tonight, 4-game NBA slate though. Gator Nation said Bucks. Well, no, what did he say before? Not Bucks are young and deep. He said something about the Bucks. Man, I can't even find it. Something about yesterday. Bucks reserves prove why they're not scrubs. Javon Carter, what a game he played yesterday. Brook Lopez, a couple games going to double OT. It was a fun night of basketball yesterday, the 12-game slate. But 4 games tonight. Again, we got plenty of time, but we'll dive into the first game. As always, do us a favor, like button, subscribe button. We do appreciate it. We want to get you the plays of the day. Starting off the night, though, we have 4 games, and they are all within an hour. 7 p.m. Eastern is the first game, 2 games at 7:30, 1 game at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we are waiting on some news. Should get most of it before lock on the Up to Lock show is what I'm guessing. Dallas Mavericks, Washington Wizards, 209 total. Dallas is favored by 5. On the injury report, Dallas is without Christian Wood. Still is on the Washington side. Big news. Porzingis is questionable. Bradley Beal is still out as well. Mangone, I'll throw it right to you. Porzingis news. I mean, if he's in, I assume you're not playing him. You do not like Porzingis. If he's out, what does that do for Washington? Talk about this game.
Yeah, I mean, Porzingis out would obviously be humongous. It'd be huge value. It opens up. The entire slate would change. So, like, let's at least start there. Like, if for some reason we sit here and we say something at, 5:15 Eastern, and then Porzingis is ruled out at 5:30, that is probably going to change the slate. We will try our best to digest it and talk about it as best as we can. It'll obviously be reflected in the premium content. We'll talk about it in Discord, so be sure to get in there. But Porzingis being out would be massive because, I mean, Kyle Kuzma then would be an absolutely sick play. I kind of want Porzingis to play because I don't want to then just be in a situation where I kind of feel like I have to like onslaught some Washington guys. That would be a bit frustrating. If Porzingis is out, the guys that I'd be looking at, I think Daniel Gafford at 3.2K is interesting. I do think Rui Hachimura is probably the most intriguing one at 4.1K. I would want to know who is starting. I would not be surprised if they just slid Gafford in there as the starter at the 5 and they used Rui a little bit more. And then maybe they even close with someone like Rui. That would not shock me at all if he kind of got a really good burn and run there. So I think that's going to be really intriguing. Kyle Kuzma would probably be like almost a lock. You'd obviously worry about the blowout factor a little bit that could be there, but I think he'd be a really good play. You'd want to make sure you're getting in your lineups as one of these like mid-tier studs that has a ton of upside. Will Barton's usage would go through the roof. He'd 4.1K. I wouldn't be surprised if Will Barton then started for that reason if Porzingis was out and they kind of like changed up a bunch of pieces in the starting lineup just because they might need a little bit more usage guys then. But I do think overall, he's someone that I would be looking at 4.1K, and he's guard and forward eligible, which matters because you can throw him in a lot of different spots. So think that that's going to be really interesting. Dallas, that's a spot where we have a little bit of value right now. And again, value on this slate, like it's not great. These value plays are not your normal value plays. So that's why I think you can get away with fading some of them, especially at the ownerships we're going to see. Like Maxi Kleber, I think he's a good play. I don't think he's a bad play at all, but I am thinking about how am I handling him? He's power forward and center eligible. He's only 3.4K, which won't kill you that much, but he's going to be very high owned. And I know Maxi Kleber sometimes can, be a bit rough. And if there's no Porzingis, couldn't this game just go a bit smaller and maybe even smaller to the point where, yes, that could help Maxi because he's a 3-point shooter, but it could get even smaller and they do something crazy, like maybe Kuzma at the 5, right? And then the Mavericks go with like Dorian Finney-Smith at the 5. I mean, that's certainly not the craziest idea. I mean, we're in a world of positionless basketball. So overall, those are things that I'm thinking about when kind of building out my lineups. But I think Maxi Kleber is probably the best guy from a value perspective on the entire slate that people are looking at. So you have to think about how you're rostering him. Luka's one of the best spends. He's 12.5K. But do you have the salary to do it? Is he going to fit the equation today? It is a shorter slate, so sometimes just grabbing those raw points are worth it. You have to make that decision if it's worth it for your lineups. Then we got Spencer Dinwiddie. I believe he had like an over 30% usage rate with no Christian Wood. This is a really nice role for him. We've seen this in the past as well. He's 6.2K, which feels a bit pricey. He's only shooting guard eligible, which can hurt him a bit because you can only roster him in 3 spots, right? Shooting guard, guard, and the utility spot. But I do think he's a really good play. And I noticed when I kind of built out my teams, I noticed that the Dallas Mavericks are on a lot of teams. You're getting peppered with a ton of them. The one thing I'm thinking about, at least right now, without this Porzingis news, is how many Mavericks should I play? And this also goes with the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm getting a lot of Sixers too. The Mavericks are popping up the most. One rule that I might set when I build out my lineups and just trying to find my favorite teams, I might just max 2 of the Dallas Mavericks. And the reason why I might do that is that's just naturally going to give me a different construction. Just to kind of give you an overview of some of the stuff I talk about, my single entry 3 max stuff. And I think it's probably the most important thing to talk about right now on this slate with the information that we have. The Sixers and Mavericks are on like, I would say 4, you're getting at least 4 to like 6 of those guys on most of your teams right now. So if I'm getting most of those guys and they have some ownership, where am I going to be different? Is it just one spot? So I don't mind the idea of setting a rule of like max 2 Sixers, max 2 Mavericks. And when you do that, you're going to get some interesting teams that might not get you Luka and only plays the value Mavs. Maybe it's only Dinwiddie and Maxey. You have to fade a Luka and you got a contrarian spend up instead. And then when you do that, maybe you don't get Embiid, or maybe you do get Embiid and you miss out on one of those other Sixers values. So that's something that's really interesting that I'm using when building out my lineups. I'm currently at two Mavericks max and then 2 Sixers. I might change that as we get some more information and news, but that's just something I was looking at when looking at optimal lineups.
Yeah, good breakdown there. If you do want to see Mangone mention his 3-entry max stuff, he does a great job with that. You do it for NFL as well. Do it for baseball when it's baseball season. You do have to be a member. Go to the website, Run Pure Sports, and check out that. Another thing that you said that stuck out to me and is very important on this slate, the value. Maxi Kleber, when you're telling me Maxi Kleber is one of the best value plays on this slate, you know it's gross. It's completely opposite of yesterday when we had Campaign, we had Javon, Grayson Allen. We had all the value in the world. This is not the slate. So guys like Luka and Embiid, they'll still get ownership as always, but you can't jam in both of them, where yesterday you could get double spend up builds. So Hoop, I'll throw it over to you. Someone in chat, Rant, said, can Kuzma have a good game or too pricey? I mean, if Porzingis is out, Kuzma's a great play. If he's in, talk about Kuzma, talk about Luka. Is he a priority? What do you see in this one?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on the status of Porzingis. Couple things. Chunky Blue, the Hoops core yesterday was a killer. The core was an absolute printer yesterday. So if you were a Rem Pure Sports member and you plugged in my core and you didn't make money, that's on you, because everyone absolutely went off. So the core,
K Alex did too. I was going to wait till the members.
K Alex, yeah. I mean, the core's,
it was a great.
The core's absolutely smashed yesterday. Part of the premium product at Run Pure. One other thing, if you're new to the show, okay, this is a Thursday NBA slate, kind of iffy slate, all right? We have NFL as well. You are not going to get a better breakdown of the Mavericks versus the Wizards on a Thursday night than our boy Mangone just did.
Absolutely.
That was an in-depth, deep dive into this game. I mean, you're not going to get a better breakdown of this game. So just to add on to what Mangone said, a lot of it is contingent on what happens to Porzingis. If he's out, a lot of those value guys that you're looking at on the Mavs become not out of play, but less necessary, I guess. You don't have to play guys like Maxi Kleber, who are standing out as like one of the better value plays on the slate. If Porzingis is out, we have better value options, Kuzma, Rui, Gafford potentially, then Denny Advia. Those guys become better plays. So we need to see this. We're going to get the news probably pretty soon here. It's a 7 p.m. Eastern game. You can start to even look at guys like Monty Morris a little bit more. Some of those guys fringe plays, but they'll become priorities if Porzingis is out. The question about Kuzma, it's contend right now. It's a borderline play. I mean, on a 4-game slate, you might consider him because it's only a 4-game slate. But if Porzingis is out, Kuzma becomes a great play. On the Dallas side, it's obviously Luka. It's obviously Dinwiddie, just because it's a 4-game slate and kind of what he did last time. But if Porzingis is in, we're going to have to look at some of these guys. Kleba, potentially Dorian Finney-Smith, just because of the minutes. You're going to get 30 minutes from him. If he grinds out, low 20s in terms of fantasy points, that might be good enough on this slate. So Luka, Dinwiddie for sure on the Mavs side. Then you have a couple fringe plays. On the Wizards side, you have a lot of fringe plays unless Porzingis is ruled out. And it is weird to say it, but it's kind of slate changing news on Porzingis here.
Yeah, it most definitely is on a 4-game slate. We do have, we have some news in the other games as well that we'll get to, but Porzingis is out. People are going to load the boat on this game. The Ruiz of the world, Danny Avdia, Maxi Kleber, regardless, is going to be popular, but especially the Washington value. Monte Morris, I think, gets into consideration. Will Barton, all those guys get bumped, and I think get bumps. And I think a lot of people would go to Washington for their value. So
title for what it's worth. Let's say Porzingis plays. Rui is like a really good play at 4-1 that I think people won't go to because his fantasy point per minute is just like so strong. And if you do get these guys in, like Porzingis could easily get in foul trouble if he plays with Luka driving to the hoop so much. Also, JaVale McGee starts out playing on that team at the beginning, right? That dude is very active, like jumping around. You could see Porzingis catch a couple fouls early, and that could be really good for Rui, where if Porzingis did play, that's why I played Rui the other day. I noticed he gave me a totally different construction in the field, and I said, there's a chance that Porzingis gets in foul trouble versus Steven Adams. It's not an easy matchup anyways, and he's just a really good fantasy point per minute guy. When you play these shorter slates and you try and create your own value plays, you're not going to get 35 minutes from Rui out of nowhere. So you need to just kind of find value plays that are good fantasy point per minute guys. Rui is one of them, and he can also play himself into minutes and play himself into closing, because positionless basketball, Kuzma could slide over to the 3 instead of Corey Kispert at the 3, and they could go bigger and have Rui then at the 4. That would not shock me if they went with that build.
No, I really like Rui. Like, even if Porzingis is in, I mean, he's right in the same price range as Maxi Kleber. Expect Kleber to get a lot more ownership. If it was yesterday's slate, like, there's no way we're playing Kleber. There's no way we're playing Rui or any of that. But because value's tough, the minutes aren't necessarily there, mid-20s at best. But, man, in his last 6 games, you look at this usage, 29, 26, 14, 20, 29, 27. At 4.1K, I want my guy where I know he's in the game. He's going to be active. He's going to be shooting the ball. He can rebound the ball, have the ball in his hands. I don't want a guy just sitting in the corner, running up and down the floor, getting his cardio in. So I really do like Rui at 4.1. He's been a player I've liked ever since college. In Gonzaga, he had a tough rookie start. It was decent. I think he got injured a little bit. Rotations were messed up with him, but I've liked him for years. So 4.1K on a slate that is not very good with value, I definitely like Rui. And yeah, I mean, if Porzingis is out, the ownership on all these guys go up. But I do think I agree with you, Mangone, that he is in play, even if Porzingis is in. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to spend as much time on this first game, the Washington and Dallas side, as we just talked about. But 4 games, we want to give you as much of a breakdown as possible. Want to also touch on the members never win segment. What a day we had yesterday. Want to shout out some of our members and coordinators. Bowl 800 turned $12 into $4,000. C-Storms $76 into $4,000. I mean, wow, look at those ROIs. Congrats to you two. Leroy, $4,600 in NBA. Our guy AP won $8,000 in NBA. Y guy 223, $12,000 in NBA. Kanoski 69, $22,000 in NFL. Tyler, our guy, I see him in chat as well, $29,000 in NFL. Locks, $30,000 in NFL. Nadesify, $67,000 in NFL. Tambo, $61,000 in NFL. And the guy that just took over the industry, the homebrew solo shipper, $500,000. And for the people watching, us three on the First Look show, we do it every single Tuesday talking NFL. We had the homebrew on. He came on, talked about the sweat, talked about his thought process. It was a very good conversation. Just awesome stuff to the homebrew. So if you haven't checked that show out, it was Tuesday NFL First Look show. Make sure you go check that out. You definitely won't regret it. Let's see what we got. 530 watching, 177 likes. Pretty solid so far. I'll be nice. I'll say 310. I need a little more than 300. I want to get you the plays of the day. We couldn't get it to you yesterday. You guys didn't hit the like button, unfortunately, but 310 likes for the plays of the day today. Still got 3 games left. And if you have any questions in chat, we have time. I'll get to some of them as well, so you can drop those in there as well. Let's get to the next game on the slate. 7:30 Eastern. The Charlotte Hornets, the Miami Heat, 214.5 total. Miami is favored by 10.5. We do have injury news in this one. Tyler Hero is questionable. Caleb Martin is questionable. Two big pieces of news in this game. As far as the Charlotte side, they're still without LaMelo, still without Gordon Hayward. Cody Martin is also out as well. I mean, this Hero news is definitely very big. If he's out, guys like, your guy Kyle Lowry gets a bump, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and as well as Caleb Martin. I mean, he plays a big role on this team as well. If they're both in, I definitely don't love this game as much. Hoop, I'll throw it to you. Talk about Charlotte, talk about Miami, and what the Hero and Martin news does for you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Hero news is, I'd say, more important. I'm going to keep playing Kyle Lowry. I know people don't love playing Kyle Lowry, but man, he's created a very nice floor this season. When you look at his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, he plays at least like 35 minutes. He's had at least 28 fantasy points. A game where he had 28 fantasy points, he shot 1 for 9 in that game. Besides that, he's been mid 30s to 40 fantasy points basically all season long. I'm in on Lowry for sure in GPPs. And then if Hero's out, wouldn't even mind playing him in cash games as well. If Hero's out, Butler gets a boost, Bam as well. Don't love playing Bam, but kind of stabilize the fantasy production a little bit. And he's been a high floor type player. So, on a 4-game slate, you got to consider these guys. They'd all get a boost if Hero is out. Hero's in, again, more fringe type plays on all these guys. On the Hornet side, Terry Rozier, the price has come up. I don't think I can pay the 8.6 for Rozier. It's a big boy price tag. My favorite play is going to be PJ Washington, 5.8K. You're getting about low 30s in terms of minutes, and he's been pretty productive the last 3 games. He hasn't been under 28 fantasy points, shooting the ball a lot. He had 18 shots a couple games ago. He's always a pretty good rebounder, so he would be my favorite on the Hornets side, but it's not a really good matchup. Not a great matchup for the Hornets here. They're 10-point underdogs and only projected to score about 102 points on the slate, so don't really love these guys all that much. But the Hero news is really going to dictate what we do in this game.
Absolutely. I also forgot to mention, I mentioned it most times. Some people that might be new to the website don't know, though. We do have a members never win segment in Discord. If you want to be on the segment where I just listed off the coordinators and members that won, got to drop your screenshots in there. That's where Simon and Helmet go through. Then they pick out, you see great ROI. I mean, it doesn't have to be like $60,000. You have a great ROI. I'll shout out Connor. He's always in the MMA chat. He's always in NBA chat. He's been a member for a long time. $12 into 1,700 yesterday. And there were a lot of wins like that as well. Someone got a live final seat. There's so many screenshots. So it doesn't have to be a 6-figure and $80,000 win. We love that seeing like the $17 to 4,000. I mean, that is so cool. So if you do want to be on that segment, members never win segment in Discord, drop those screenshots in there and you have a chance to be on it. Mangone, throwing it to you. Got to talk about the Hero and Caleb Martin news. If they're out, who gets bumps? If they're in, what's your interest on Miami? And then talk about Charlotte's team, who still is a little thin.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if Hero's out, like big bumps to probably like the ball handlers, right? Big bump to Butler, big bump to Kyle Lowry. You can make it kind of some of these like I guess like the fringe guys you call it, like maybe a Gabe Vincent or like a Max Struss, who I don't mind. He could obviously get a pretty good bump, especially if a Martin's out. I didn't get a hoops takes. I had to go run to the bathroom real quick. I had too much coffee today. So Bam out of bio. I didn't know if he was going to trash on Bam and like this.
I always do. I can't resist. I did a little bit, but like I said, he's started to have that floor a little bit more in terms of the fantasy points that we like, but the price has come up as well. So for me, he's going to be more in play, obviously, if Hero's out versus him being in.
But how do you not like, it's the matchup, right? Like the Charlotte.
For sure. Yeah. They crush the bigs crush.
So this is how you do it. If we don't get any good value plays, right? Everyone's in, and someone said it in the chat. They stole it. Dwayne Dedman. Dwayne Dedman is a guy that can put up fantasy points. These kind of bigger centers that are physical are what beat up Charlotte. If you look at the way he produces just fantasy points, like he's a decent fantasy point per minute kind of guy. If you also see Martin sit, that's more opportunity for them not to go the small ball route as much and go with a guy like Dwayne Dedman. And if for some reason you get lucky, maybe Dwayne Dedman does play like 3 minutes with Bam Adebayo because like they're just that thin. I mean, Miami, when they are thin, they have played 8-man rotations already this season. When they are missing guys, they have played 8-man rotations. Absolutely crazy to see that. If you can get an 8-man rotation in November, you are firing on it. And if he's a part of that 8-man rotation, I'm in. Like, and I keep saying the word 8-man rotation because that is like literally like gold in DFS when you know that. So that's just something to think about for sure. I definitely think it's in play. I mean, yes, you can play Maxi Kleber, and yes, I know he's forward eligible, so that changes it a little bit because some of these centers are good plays today. But I think Dwayne Dedman is a really, really interesting value. That would totally change if we get some news on some of these other guys. But if we're trying to find value plays off of guys like Maxi Kleber, I'm interested in Dwayne Dedman. I don't think he's a bad play to go to, but we need this news, right? That's going to be super important. And I think Jimmy Butler is a really interesting spend up option as well, just because I don't think he's gaining that much ownership as Luka and some of these other guys. So I think that's all going to be really, really important news. And that's kind of something we're waiting on. And if we kind of get it on the show, we can circle back to it. But That's going to be valuable. I do want to talk about some Charlotte plays because Charlotte is a bit more thin. One thing I noticed watching some of the games recently, it does feel like Dennis Smith Jr. is cutting into Rozier a little bit usage-wise, but then the more I looked at it,
Rozier's just shooting the ball so poorly.
that's what I'm saying. Like, so like when you like are watching, you're like, man, like Dennis Smith's putting it up a bunch, but some of like the units that like Terry Rozier is running with are just absolute jokes. Like, and he's the guy. He's just missing his shots. I mean, 9 for 23, 1 for 9 from 3 in that game. Then he went 6 for 20, 5 for 13. What happens when the shooting variance goes the other way? Now, is it for sure going to happen?
Porzingis out, by the way, just ruled him out.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's going to change a ton, but that we'll circle back after I finish up Charlotte. Just, I did want to mention the Rozier things. I think that's important. I think Mason Plumlee is someone that was gaining a lot of ownership, and I was kind of considering more of a fade on him, or just at least going lower owned on him to the field, just because. Yes, I think he's a good fantasy producer, but I don't think this is the most ideal matchup for him. So I thought this was maybe one spot to maybe get a little underweight on a guy that people are going to be playing. But the whole slate's changed, obviously. It's really big news that we got with the Porzingis out.
Yeah, it absolutely does change. Do you guys want to go back and touch on that a little bit? Do you want to go through the rest of the two games and touch on that at the end? What do you guys want?
Kind of talked about it. I mean, it's definitely all those guys become good plays. I mean, they become better value plays than what we were dealing with before. And that is, Rui, potentially Gafford. Will Barton gets a big boost. Will Barton at 4.1K, they're going to need him. They're going to need his offense for sure. Advia, I mean, Kispert, Monty Morris, they're all in play now. They weren't in play, now they are.
I know this is super small, but Taj Gibson got ruled out too, and the guy plays 5, 4, 8. Like, he's been playing in spots, especially when guys get in foul trouble. So, like, it's like if Gafford got in foul trouble, then Rui would just be like forced to play even more minutes. Where if Rui got in foul trouble, Gafford would be forced into some more minutes. So that's another like small thing that like it doesn't matter a ton, but like if there's the foul issue on the other side, because when Porzingis got in foul trouble and Gafford, they brought Taj Gibson in there and made sure he played. So I think those big men get really nice bumps and I'm interested in them for sure. Obviously, Kyle Kuzma, I think he's going to be a really great option. He's going to put up so many shots. And you could also play too, a little bit of the blowout angle where like, if for some reason you think this team just gets absolutely slaughtered, which they could, maybe you don't play the expensive guy like a Kyle Kuzma, and you mainly just kind of play some of these values. And like maybe someone like Rui could get decent run late in the fourth quarter and like still get the job done. Like that's kind of why I did it the other day, Title. I literally played Rui because I was like, they're playing Memphis. I think they get blown out. They were losing by 20. And then Rui and that whole unit was absolutely smashing. And they just said, we're going to keep rolling with it. And because Porzingis was in foul trouble and he wasn't playing well, they just stopped playing him. So playing those cheap guys when you worry about the blowout too is kind of a way to hedge getting exposure to the game without getting completely burned. Because yes, Kyle Kuzma could nuke for a massive game, but if they have 30 points and they're losing 60-30, Kyle Kuzma ain't playing in the second half, and he didn't get the job done for you probably in the first half either.
No, yeah, absolutely good points there. I mean, we were starved for value coming into the show. We still do have more injury news to wait for. Hero, we'll get to the last game. Nurkic is still questionable. We saw what Drew Eubanks did yesterday, Jeremy Grant, and all games do start within the hour. But right now, I mean, if Hero was ruled in, Nurkic, all of them are ruled in. Washington is where you go for the value for sure. Monitor the starting lineup. I mean, I assume Gafford's going to slide in and start at the 5. They just don't have big men. But guys off the bench, Rui off the bench, Barton off the bench. I mean, so many of these guys are great plays. So let me ask this question. How many Wizards is too many on this slate? I'll start with you, Hoop.
For GPPs, I mean, I think more times than not, you probably want to cap it around 3. For cash games, you can go to 4, I think, for sure. So that's kind of where I'm at.
What are your thoughts on that, man, going before he gets to the next game?
I think Hoop hit it pretty decent, but like I have to run stuff in order to like really know the answer, just because like for me, like I think he has a good rule of thumb on it. I think that's pretty solid, but I like to see like what's popping in, and like if for some reason a lot of teams have 3, then I'm probably going to go 2. Like it depends what else I'm getting instead. Cause one thing I hate running into is like, well, if you play like all of like the same value plays as everyone else, then like your entire team is like 25% or like, I need to get a differentiator here and there in there. Yes, you want to play chalk in NBA. It's good, but like sometimes I like to find like maybe one that could be more fringe, or at least have an opportunity to find some guy that's at least at like I don't know, 15% or below, and have at least one difference maker in my lineup to kind of carry me up the leaderboard and make my construction different than the field.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Mangone will update his 3-entry max stuff. Playbook will be updated, talking about that news, core plays, all cast chart, all of that stuff as always. But we just got the news, giving our quick initial thoughts. Before we get to the next game, though, Bill had a quick question. If Hero is out, is Duncan Robinson in play? I'll go to you, Mangone. At first, I was just going to say no way. But he played 28 minutes a couple games ago, 24, 25. But then you see 4 minutes, 16 minutes, 13 minutes, 14 minutes. What are your thoughts? Hero obviously has to be out. I think Martin would probably have to be out too for me. I mean, people don't think Martin's big news. He played 34 minutes last game. He averages upper 20s minutes. If you have no Hero and Martin, then I think Duncan Robinson's in play. But I don't know if just one of them's out. What are your thoughts on that, Quick?
It's tough because he's so scoring dependent, right? But he's at least at home, which is encouraging. I think this matchup is one that he can get the job done. And so I don't hate it. I do want to address one other chat question, Title, or not, it's a statement, but it says you can't pay for Luka now, LOL, blowout easily. I actually go out the other way. I actually think it's a better opportunity to play Luka because you have enough value plays
it's a lot easier
to go grab him, right? Before, if you plugged Luka into your lineup, did you have as many value plays to help you get there? So I actually think Luka is more in play than he was before, because you have more value plays that can help get you there. Because sometimes when people are going up and grabbing Luka, well, Luka could get you 60 DK points, and that's great. But if your value plays get you 10, and then my mid tier is better, then I have a better opportunity to get to the top of the leaderboard because your score adds up to what? 70 DK points. My two other guys in the mid tier that add up to your ownership can beat 70 DK points. So that's just something to kind of think about when building out your lineups. I actually think this value opens it up as even more of an opportunity. And on a lot of these slates, like these 13 gamers, right, where we're slamming in Campaign, who's a really good play, who's just going to absolutely crush, though you just at the end of the day will need raw point guys more. So that's something to consider when building out your lineups.
Absolutely. We got over 600 watching right now, only 235 likes. I set the bar way too low. 310's the number though. I said it. I'd appreciate if you guys smash that like button. We could easily get to 400 today. That's the number I should have set, but want to get you the plays of the day. 2 seconds out of your day. Like button, subscribe button. We appreciate it greatly. Next game on the slate though. And actually, I want to touch on one quick thing because his reasoning was because of the blowout for Luka. If you think it's going to be a 30-point game in the fourth quarter, of course, don't play Luka, go bet Dallas -6 or whatever it moved to now. But on this 4-game slate, we have Miami, who's favored by 10.5. The last game, the Pelicans are favored by 9. So there's 2 other games that have higher spreads than that game. So predicting blowouts, I never do it. But that's something to monitor as well. I mean, if you think that game blows out, you probably think the Heat game blows out. You probably think the Pelicans blows out if you're according to Vegas. And that's 3 of the 4 games on the slate. So just wanted to touch on that. Next game on the slate, though, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Philadelphia 76ers, Atlanta Hawks. 222 total. Atlanta is favored by 1. Harden's still out. PJ Tucker is questionable on the 76ers side. As far as Atlanta, they are healthy. 1-point spread in this game. Hoop, I'll go to you. Trae Young, Embiid, DeJounte. There's obviously studs in this one. What's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I definitely have more interest in the Philadelphia side opposed to Atlanta, and I think that'll be, a common theme. A lot of people feel that way. Just a tough team, Atlanta. When they have Trae Young, when they have DeJounte Murray, and they're fully priced too. You're not getting a price break. 10-4 for Trae Young, 10-3 for DeJounte Murray. I just have to play Embiid over those guys. If I'm spending on one guy, it has to be Embiid over both those guys. So if you're doing 150, then yeah, good exposure to the studs. We now have enough value on the slate with the Washington situation to play the studs. Yeah, so some Trae Young in 150, some DeJounte in 150. That's going to be it for me on the Hawk side. But on the 76er side, I have a lot of interest. Very encouraging to see Embiid return. Played 36 minutes, 21 shots, only shot 8 for 21, still, 55 fantasy points. That's good enough on a 4-game slate. So I'm in on Embiid for sure. I like him. I really like Tobias Harris. I'm kind of a Tobias Harris guy. And, without James Harden, 37 minutes, 15 shots, 18 shots, and he can kind of do a little bit of everything. 8 rebounds, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 assists. So in these last 2 games, he's been very, very productive. The price isn't right for me at 7.1K. And then if PJ Tucker is ruled out, I think that's also a little bit of a boost to him as well. So really like Tobias Harris. I like the Anthony Melton as well at 6K. I think it's a fair price tag for him. The minutes have definitely been there, 33 minutes in the last couple of games. I think he's a really good play on this slate. So I really like the 76ers side. Tyrese Maxey, 8.2K. It's not ideal. I think he's a good play in tournaments. I mean, I don't think many people are going to pay the 8.2 for him. Probably just go up to some of these studs, but really like Embiid, really like Tobias, really like DeAnthony Melton, and then those Hawk studs in 150, kind of where I'm at here.
Yep, I like it. Man, go and throw it to you. I mean, like Melton, Tobias, this game was getting some ownership. I mean, you talked before that the Sixers were popping a bit outside of Dallas. Now with this Washington news, I mean, I haven't had time to run anything. I don't know if you have as well. We still got plenty of time, but I mean, ownership's going to go down on Tobias. It's going to go down on Melton with all this Washington stuff now. So what are your thoughts on the 76ers side with the ownership decrease? And then do you have any interest on the other side with the Hawks?
Yeah, it's hard to run stuff right now.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you need stuff to update and everything, but I do want to talk about something on the Hawks real quick. So I do think, like, if you're looking for like contrarian spend ups, like Trae Young certainly could be that guy, right? Like he could easily have a monster game. Now, the thing I'm trying to figure out with Trae Young is like, so he had 2 games that have been bad this year. The rest have been pretty good overall. Like the Utah one wasn't amazing, but the Knicks one, he got hurt mid-game, and the Toronto one, he shot 3 for 13. And that's because of the defense that Toronto plays. They do not let shooters like Trae Young and Steph Curry get the job done. They box and one, and it just doesn't work. So I give him a pass. But other than that, the dude has nuked almost every slate. The problem is Sixers, Tyrese Maxey is definitely not a defender that I really want to mess around with. But other than that, he's been really good. So I'm trying to figure out what to do with Trae Young. I think I'd rather go just what Mark said in the chat is I'd probably rather go like a guy like an Anthony Simons. I'd rather go down a little bit less. Maybe I go to a Jimmy Butler instead. But sometimes when like people are just jamming all these other studs, you want to find a contrarian one. So I'm just trying to dig and figure out what I can find at the top to separate myself from the field. So Trae Young, certainly he's in play, but I'd be a little cautious with him. DeJounte Murray, if you do think Trae Young is going to have a bad game, DeJounte Murray could certainly go off for a bigger one. So I think he's interesting, and he's got that shooting guard eligibility if you want to take a chance on that. But Dinwiddie likely is going to be in that shooting guard spot here today. I know Hunter was popping a little bit before. I assume that was because we needed value. I don't think he pops that much anymore, so not as interested in him. The Philadelphia side, there were guys popping, and mainly the ones that were DeAnthony Melton, because his usage has been pretty good. He is 6K, which is a tough price tag, but he was someone that I thought was going to be an interesting play because the ownership was going to be high. I was going to be a little cautious with him. And then I thought Tobias Harris was a pretty interesting play at 7-1 because I think he's been just really strong and his minutes are insane, right? I mean, I know Royce O'Neal was like one of these guys on the shorter slate too. Do you remember when we talked about Royce O'Neal? And I know the price is completely different. Tobias Harris is 7-1, but dude's minutes are 34, 34, 37, 38. Sometimes on these 4-game slates, just grab a consistent guy that plays great minutes, right? I don't think it's a bad idea to just say that. If you land on like some mid-tier like guys, let's say like you're building out your teams, you put 5 or 6 guys in, and you're in that like 6 or 7K range, plug in a Tobias Harris at 7-1. It's a safe option that I don't think will absolutely kill you on this slate. So I think my favorite option is probably Tobias Harris in this game. If you want to spend up for Embiid, I won't tell you it's a bad idea at all. I think he's one of those other studs like Luka that you can spend on if you would like, but some of this news is going to shake it up, right? Like it depends on this Heat news. I think that's going to make some things a little different. We also have the Nurkic news lurking as well. So let's say Nurkic is out. Well, Eubanks is going to be a really good play, and that will occupy a center spot. So that would really hurt someone like Joel Embiid, who you can only play at center and utility. So that news is actually going to be really important for his status here.
Yeah, that was the point I was going to touch on as well. But ownership would go down then with Embiid as well. So it could go both ways. You do have a util spot if you want to go the double center route, and his ownership does go down because of Eubanks. But yeah, I mean, we got the Porzingis news like we were talking about. 4-game slate. Hero, Martin, Jeremy Grant, Nurkic. We still do have big news that we're waiting for. I mean, maybe the Nurkic and Grant news we don't get. It's an hour after lock. There's a possibility we do, but you definitely have to monitor that. No, you're not going to have to stay on your computer too long after lock today with all the games within an hour, but you cannot leave if you do not have that Nurkic and Grant news. So that was the 76ers and the Atlanta Hawks. We have one game left to talk about. The likes, 630, 284 likes. 310's the number. I'll ask one more time, remind one more time, but I assume we'll get it. Should be very easy. Surprise me though. Make a push to 400. That would definitely bring a big smile to my face. I'd appreciate it. It doesn't take a lot of effort. 2 seconds, like, big red subscribe button. We always appreciate it. Bringing you shows every single day. Last game on the slate, Portland Trailblazers, New Orleans Pelicans, 222.5 total. Pelicans are favored by 9. As I mentioned a couple times, Nurkic and Jeremy Grant are questionable. Very big news for both of those guys. Winslow would, I assume, slide into the starting lineup if Grant's ruled out. Coming off a bad game yesterday, I'd go right back to him. And as far as Nurkic, he's ruled out. We just saw Drew Eubanks go ham yesterday. So very important news on the Portland side. On the Pelicans side, Larry Nance is questionable. Not as big of news, but a body that would be down on a 4-game slate. People in chat were talking. They were saying CJ McCollum revenge game. You guys got to touch on that. I have to go to you first, man. Going the revenge guy, CJ. I mean, you can play CJ in any spot, I think. But what are your thoughts in this spot? As far as the Portland side, Anthony Simons, Josh Hart. What are your thoughts on the Portland side?
Yeah, I mean, dude, if for some reason Nurkic does sit, this would be massive news. Obviously.
I will say, I didn't mention what I'm saying, Simons, that Dame is not playing as well. He's already ruled out, so they already are thin. They could be more thin. So let me just get that out of the way too.
Yeah, well, I love Anthony Simons here. He is someone that I'm looking to get into my lineups. 8.1K, it feels pricey. I think projections are wrong. Like I'm making a bet on that. Obviously the news is hit and I haven't ran stuff yet, so don't hold me officially to it, but before we started, I really liked him and wanted to get him in there at the guard spot. I do think that someone like Eubanks at 4.3, if people somehow shy away, like, it's still a good price. So don't shy away from that. Justice Winslow, if you are missing Nurkic, that's going to be great ball handling responsibilities for him at 4.6K.
Someone said
I'll fire him up as well. I think he'll be an incredible play for sure. Jeremy Grant's obviously a big piece of news too, as well, that we're going to wait on.
Someone said Winslow's questionable. I don't see that.
No, he's probable. Right, I mean, he has a tag, but it's probable.
Okay.
That's probably the DraftKings tag. So he has a Q on DK. So you're probably looking at on one of the other sites and he's looking at DraftKings. So that's probably why. But like Winslow for sure, I think he's going to be a good play here. But this news is going to be important. The good news that we'll have with this game is we will get an update on this at the 30 mark, right? 6:30. We will at least know if Nurkic is going to be still questionable, game time decision, probable out. We'll get some update. I don't know what the update's going to be, but we'll get an update and that'll help you to be able to evaluate what to do. So that's something I'm going to think about. Let's say that there's news that, hey, Nurkic is still questionable. Like, it's maybe leaning more towards out. Maybe I'll backload a little bit for that. That's something to think about with your lineups a little bit. While everyone plays Maxi Kleber, maybe I'll try and get on Eubanks. That's why it's important to be in that Discord chat. We'll hit the ad, everyone. We'll make sure that they know what's going on. We'll make sure you guys know where we're going with our lineups for sure. So be sure to get in that Discord chat. On the Pelicans side, the biggest issue I'm running into now is if you look at a lot of these teams on this slate, Dallas, I feel like we got an alpha there in Luka and like Dinwiddie with good injury news. Washington, Kuzma, obviously in a great role as a spend up. Charlotte, I mean, I like Terry Rozier as a spend up. I think he's really interesting, and I think he's got a good opportunity. I like Butler as a possible spend up, pending news, and Lowry. So that's going to be important. Sixers side, it's Embiid is one of the spend ups. Atlanta, there's not a ton. I already talked about liking Simons. It's just on the Pelicans, it feels like it's going to be a bit too crowded for me. It's going to be hard to get to a Zion, an Ingram, a McCollum, Valanciunas. Now, I'm only playing one team. I'm playing it in tournaments, and I'm calling it a day today. So that's why it's tough for me. If you're playing tournaments, I understand mixing and matching these guys. But when we got on this show, those guys were better plays than they are right now, and they could become worse plays based on some of these other pieces of news that could hit. So for me, I think I might just full fade the Pelicans. I mean, if you look at this team in general too, look at their bench. So they got Zion, they got Ingram, they got McCollum, Valanciunas, and then they got Herb Jones. They got Nance, Murphy, Alvarado, Najee Marshall, Devontae Graham. They've literally benched Dyson Daniels for Zion so he can go and grab a rebound instead defensively so he wouldn't pick up another foul. They will go 11 deep here. I mean, it's just a team that I don't know if we want to get to. If you're playing 150 lineups, I understand mixing and matching these guys, but I would set a rule. of probably max one Pelican. I think that would be a pretty good rule to set tonight, especially with the studs in Zion, Ingram, McCollum, and Valanciunas, because I just don't see a route where like two of them get there with some of the other things that we have coming on this slate and some of the other news that we've already got.
I couldn't agree more. This Pelicans team's just not a team I'm going to target much. They just have so many mouths to feed. It's really tough, and the prices are up there. Like, people might see JoVal's price at $7K. Jonas Valanciunas, that is. Homebrew, when I say a nickname like a JoVal, I think of what Homebrew said. And Jonas Valanciunas, he's played, of the 11 games, he's played more than 30 minutes once so far, and that was 31 minutes. With Zion back, this is just a completely different team. If you want to go CJ, you want to go JoVal, Ingram, Zion, sure, I would definitely max one of them. But Pelicans team is definitely my least favorite of the 8 teams on this slate with so many mouths and without injury news. Pelicans and the Portland Trailblazers to cap off the night. How much exposure are you going to have to this one?
Yeah, I mean, we need the news. I mean, if you want to go to the Pelican side, it's tough. Like you guys said, I mean, they're not a good team for DFS. Not only do the starters all need the ball in their hands, but they go deep too. Like you guys said, they're playing a lot of dudes. So that's like the worst combination for DFS, like a usage heavy starting unit and then a team that's willing to use the bench. If you're going anywhere, I mean, it would be for me, Zion or Valanciunas at 7K. It's a fair price tag for him, but the minutes have been super limited, but he's always been a guy that can get it done in a short period of time. So it'd be one of those two guys. On the Trailblazer side, we just kind of need the news. Like, there's really not much else to say here. We need the news. You guys covered it good in terms of, who the plays are here, but really can't do much without the news. So again, this is an hour after lock. We probably have it before lock. So we're going to know, who the plays are here for sure.
Yeah, can I call it one more thing? I think someone talked about how like Herb Jones is like a lockdown, right? And yes, of course he's a lockdown, but like I made this mistake the other day. I was like, I want to play Trae Young, and he dropped 56, right? Had a huge game. And I was like worried about the Herb Jones. Like, don't be worried about Herb Jones when it's someone like Anthony Simons, who like that dude's going to get his shots up all game long, especially if Nurkic sits. Like if Nurkic sits, that dude is going to chuck. And he might even cover Justice Winslow. And it might be one of those situations, if you remember watching some of the playoff games when Kyrie was in them, teams would just literally guard everyone else. They'd be like, Kyrie can get his 40 and you're still going to lose. They might say, Anthony Simons, you can chuck up 25 to 30 shots. You're still going to lose because we're going to lock everything else down. We'll let you get the empty buckets, and it won't matter because you're going to lose by double digits. So that would not surprise me if that's how they go about it. And if they do, Anthony Simons could definitely nuke the slate and still be a really good play, because I'm just not worried that much about the Herb Jones thing, because if you worry about it in every single spot, I think it's a problem. There's some spots where the usage is too good, the shot attempts are too high, and the price is too good. And if Nurkic sits, that's the case with Anthony Simons.
Absolutely. That is all 4 games on this slate. Still waiting on some news. Hero, Nurkic, Grant, Martin, the big ones. Did get the Porzingis news. We do have an Up to Lock show today. Definitely make sure to check that out. They've been on fire. If we get the news on the Up to Lock show, they'll break it down. Core plays, playbook, cash chart, all of that will be up as always. All of the NFL content as well. Thursdays are always a lot of fun. Tons of money out there to be made. Head over on Pure Sports. Check it out. You will not regret it. And make sure you do get in the Discord as well if you do. Let's see, 650 watching, 322 likes. You guys got 310. I did set the bar way too low, so we're about to get you the plays of the day. But if you haven't hit it, we appreciate it if you do hit it. Make a push to 400. That would be awesome. Yeah, I'll start with myself with the SO play of the day. I wanted to go Rui before the Porzingis news, because even if he was in, I wanted to go Rui, but I assume he's going to be mega chalk now. I do not know for sure, but the price tag is just very good, so I'll get away from that. I don't want to risk taking Mangone's guy who he possibly could. I'm going to say Josh Hart at 6.5K is the SO play of the day. Hopefully you don't get the Nurkic and Grant news before the first game. That would lower ownership. If they are ruled out, he gets a massive bump. They're going to need his rebounding rate even more. He shot the ball poorly the past couple of games, but he can fill out the stat sheet in every single category. Should be pretty low owned, I think, as well. So Josh Hart at 6.5K, the SO play of the day. Mangone, Sweet Travis play of the day. Who do you got for us?
Yeah, it's going to be fun when I mean, it's not a late night hammer, but it feels like a little bit, right? We get the 30-minute mark. So while everyone's, PMR is done, hopefully some of these other games blow out. I'm going to be chasing you down with Anthony Simons, flying up the leaderboard, chucking up threes. I mean, and also don't you dare tilt him. Don't you dare be in the Discord chat saying, oh, he's 0 for 4 to start the game. the dude made 7 threes in a row at one point this year. I mean, the dude, when he gets hot, he gets hot. We'll wait for the second half if it comes, and it's going to come. So give me Anthony Simons. He drops a nice little 50 piece at 8.1K, and he is my play of the day.
That is when I said I do not want to possibly take Mangone's play. That was the one. Always love myself some Anthony Simons. Before we do get to hoop, Leland Bryant just said, I signed up for a weekly pass. Do I get access to the Discord? Yes, you do. Go on the Run Pure Sports website. We have a section, I believe that's on the far right or something, on how to get to Discord. So check that out. You do get in there. So make sure you get in there. That's how you can access, I mean, the Up to Lock show. We put the link in the media alert section. You can also find it on the website as well. But if you want to ask coordinators any questions, you do have to be in the Discord. You do get it. So get on the website and follow how to get in the Discord. Leland Bryant, we appreciate you having you. Hoop, Rich Parents play of the day. Who do you got for us?
I had this guy pegged prior to the show, and I'm going to stick with him. Tobias Harris, talked about him a lot. Really love the role right now without Harden. Upper 30s in terms of minutes. You know, he should hit that tonight. He got a close game here. 220 total, 222 total. Atlanta favored by 1, so he should get the minutes. He's going to get the shots as well. He's been shooting quite a bit the last couple games, and he's always been good with the peripherals. And then potentially another boost if PJ Tucker's out as well. So Tobias Harris, Rich Parents play of the day.
Tobias Harris, Anthony Simons, Josh Hart, the three plays of the day. Real quick, go ahead, man.
We just got Tucker is still questionable, which that's bigger news for hoops play for one. And two, other values might open up. Like one thing I didn't think about is Daniel House. I mean, last game he shot 10 shots. He played 24 minutes. The dude's 3.1K. So we'll obviously break the rest of it down in the content, the Discord. Didn't mean to cut you off, but PJ Tucker getting that questionable news, still, could be some really big stuff and open up a little bit more value that people maybe don't think that much about. And maybe it's a small differentiator for you that you can get into your lineups.
Absolutely. Good point there. And Mangone, you responded to Leland saying you have an email to get in the Discord as well. So that's probably the easiest way to go about it. Butthole Jenkins said, please smash the like button so I can get a title smile. It was disappointing, but I'll still give you a big smile, Butthole. It's a great day. It's Thursday. We got some football.
I'll give you a
got
smile, Butthole. Love that.
Hey, that's a great name, Butthole. But hey, great Thursday. Big prize pools. NFL. Make sure you check out the show with C-Dome, Tambo, JSU, Big T if you haven't. We'll see you in the live show chat on the Up to Lock show. It was a great show. Hope everybody does have a great Thursday night. See some RPS logos up top, but that's going to do it for us. For Mangone, who signed behind the sticks, I'm Titletown. Good luck, everybody.